thank you everyone over the years who's worked on our cobbled together electrical system. And thank you, Duncan, for the last 3 years, keeping us with lights, with heat, with cooking ability.
Yeah.
We couldn't have imagined that we'd be here putting in the most complete and amazing system in the next 2 weeks. But we are here, and it's thanks to you, all of you, everyone who's donated, everyone who's helped, all the work, Birk, that you've done over the last year and a quarter with us. Just, it's got us here. It's unbelievable. This experiment really is an experiment, you know, by a stripped out trawler, a boat big enough to do some serious sea adventures with a group of people thrown in together to do it.
And not having the qualifications to do pretty much anything that we've done on the boat. You know, we bought this boat, and every job that we took on, it was basically the first time we'd done that job. So we're learning as we go. Like,
having to learn on the job is a great teacher. But you know, we've always said this is a learning boat. Come on board, learn. You know, learn with us. And we up quite a lot as well, and that's the learning process. And there's a lot of snobbery in the world that, you know, you shouldn't muck up, and you shouldn't.
You should know how to do it right the first time.
But no, we don't go for that. We're Kiwis. We don't buy that. So, but what we have learned is how valuable and how amazing professionals' knowledge is. People who are retired, who have joined the crew and joined helping us. There's so much information out there, and we're so grateful that you've shared it with us. Every bit of it. Some we've absorbed, some has gone over our heads. There have been rabbit holes, Duncan. There have been rabbit holes that have been amazing to watch and learn from. But here we are, and it's kind of a bittersweet week for us. The Birkster has left the building, so we've run out of time. We were hoping to be able to get him out to the reef. We've been working so hard the last, I know, half year really to try and make that happen, and then this last thing happened with the electrical system, and it just...
And we were almost ready to go. Although we couldn't get Birk out to Lady Musgrave Island on Brupeg, we made sure that he could get out there. And there was a commercial boat heading out that way. He jumped on board, he headed off for a day of snorkeling, diving and swimming in a pretty amazing tropical location. Lady Musgrave Atoll is going to be one of the first areas that Brupeg heads to as part of her sea trials. Lady Musgrave Island is part of the southern Great Barrier Reef. It's about 50 miles offshore, so it's not a super long trip, but it's a decent trip to go out to a really nice location and stretch Brupeg's legs for the first time. It's a real treat when a crew member can scout ahead.
He's on the next leg of his journey, and it's been amazing, just amazing. Eternally grateful, and the pussycat is still cuddly. She's missing you something wicked.
It's kind of ironic that in a couple of weeks' time, it's all going to be in the boat and running. And we're going to go from having a system that's kind of got us to here that has just been like piecemealed together with what we could afford, and like it's kind of like the bare minimum of what we could actually make work on the boat.
And exhausting to manage, you know, like, okay, it's like, I need a cook, someone's using a welder, okay, shoes, you know, it's
constantly
like
load sharing and load shifting.
Very hard.
Which inverter's connected to shore power? Oh, okay, well, we've got enough voltage in the batteries to pull from that. Oh, it's like all the time it was like this, you know.
It's been like magic that Duncan has got us this far with what he had to cope with. We're so grateful. We're thinking of you.
But now that's going to all change.
Yes.
Because the new system is like a killer system. It's amazing. It's going to have an enormous lithium battery bank. We've got 2 beautiful big Victron inverters, and we've got all of the ancillary systems needed to make it run. And it sounds like the batteries and the inverters are kind of the big key items. They're almost not. They're kind of just like a thing to be used in that system. It's all the ancillary bits and the design and how they all mesh together that makes that whole system work. And that's the bit that we've always been missing. We've had the batteries and we've had the inverters, but we've nothing talk to each other.
Hang on a minute. I don't know if you can call those Oompa Loompas inverters, really.
No.
I don't think they can.
Offshore paperweights.
I think Duncan would agree that they need like a Viking funeral or something.
I always thought of like a Top Gear thing where, you know how they put a car on a cannon. I always thought of that with it just...
You haven't built your potato gun yet?
I haven't built it yet.
That can fire...
Inverter gun.
Inverters. We are grateful. We're so grateful. But, oh my goodness, they are not the most ideal thing to have in a boat like this. And certainly the kind of work we want to do, we have to have everything just working and humming and very reliable, and backups for the backups. So Thank you. We're very grateful, but goodbye. We'll share with you what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. And Birk, we hope you're having an amazing time. We look forward to catching up with you soon.
Brupeg was a sunken fishing trawler that was stripped out and ready for the scrapyard. She's just completed a 10-year rebuild that's brought her back to life. With the help of volunteers and funded by our Patreons, community and subscribers, she'll be crewed by passionate people from around the world. If you'd like to be involved and support the project, please consider joining us on Patreon or subscribe to the channel. There's a link in the description below. We're going to have to go back in time. It all started a couple of months ago when we thought we were ready to head to sea. Birk was coming over from Germany, he was going to join us, and we were going to leave the marina for good. And then we let the magic smoke out of our Victron controllers. I don't know what happened, but I went to disconnect that charge controller and I touched the negative and it fried, and then smoke started coming out of every other charge controller. But why did they die in the first place? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. It's a really simple answer too. I forgot to put a disconnect between the solar panel and the charge controllers. So when I disconnected the batteries, they had no ability to dissipate that charge and they started to fry themselves. Now, sometimes you can get away without having that disconnect in there, but it's absolutely not recommended because worst case scenario, the magic smoke comes out. Brupeg is built on a shoestring. Almost every job that I attempt is the first time I've ever done that job, and I'm learning on the job. So we will make mistakes. And the charge controller are a perfect example of that. A very expensive, scary, annoying, and frustrating mistake. So we had to come up with a solution. We went to our Patreons and asked them, what do you want us to do, guys? You are the ones that make this possible. How do we solve this problem? And the answer was pretty much instantaneous and unanimous. Run a GoFundMe, get what you need, do it once, do it right. So we did that, and the results were phenomenal, as you've seen from past episodes. But what this has allowed us to do is design the best possible system that we could have ever envisioned on Brupeg. It's designed by professional electrical engineers that deal with Victron and the associated parts and products and so on, day in, day out. It's going to be fitted by DC and AC marine electricians. It's going to be like an incredibly robust system. So we want to give you an update as to where that system is, in terms of what we have to do to get it in the boat, where we've come from and where we're heading to. In Brupeg's wheelhouse, underneath the floorboards, we have our battery box and inverter area and charge controller area. So we've got our original lithium batteries. We've got our, what we call the Oompa Loompas, the orange helpful inverters. And we've got our charge controllers on this wall here. And if you spin 180 degrees, on this wall, you've got all of the fuses and DC-DC converters and so on. Now, we need to transform this room into something that's a bit of a work of art. We're going to be putting components into this battery room that we didn't even know existed a couple of months ago before all of this drama happened. Let me show you one of them. So this is just one of the multiple pieces of equipment that's going inside that battery room. This is 1.25 meters long, so it's what's close to 4.5 feet, 5 feet long. Now, if you look inside here, you got quite a lot of stuff going on. So buzz bars, fusible buzz bars with the ability to tell what's going on with each fuse, and a BMS that controls the entire system. Now, I'm going to go into a lot more detail on this soon, but I just want to kind of give you an idea as to how much stuff we have to physically fit into this room. So as you can see, real estate is going to be pretty precious as part of this project. Now, a lot of this is going because these are burnt out, they need to be replaced. They're going to be replaced with different sizes, different connections. There's going to be a fair bit of modification. However, we also have to fit extra gear in that we didn't know existed before we blew these guys up. As part of this upgrade, we've learnt that it doesn't meet the Australian standards if you've got your batteries exposed like this. Now, these are in stainless boxes. So technically, if we vented each of these boxes out to the outside of the boat, we would be in compliance. However, we're not going to be using these batteries, so we're not going to be doing that. What we are going to be using is Victron batteries inside one single aluminium box that's going to be vented outside. Let me show you that box. And there we have our finished box. So welding's done, corners have been polished off. You can sort of see we've made basically the corners go flush all the way around. So these were welded edges right the way around. This is going to get, on this face here, it's going to get perspex, so we'll be able to see the batteries. So you can kind of see where the batteries sit in the box. And then we need to make some threaded rod bolt down pieces, so the batteries are all clamped down to the box itself, and that box then is also bolted to the battery box area. So the outside has had a bit of a clean and a polish up, a bit of a brushed finish. This basically just finished off with the buffing wheel on the grinder. So yeah, I think that's come up pretty good. In order for this box to be legal, it has to be a gas proof box. So if for whatever reason these batteries off gas, they can release the gas into the box, and then the box has a vent that goes to the outside of the boat. So we need two things. We need to seal the front with acrylic, so heavy acrylic, probably use something like 10mm acrylic. We're going to have a nitrile rubber gasket between the aluminium and the acrylic, and then it's going to be bolted, tech screwed, riveted, something, I'm not sure yet, some sort of fastening to hold that acrylic onto the aluminium box behind it. The vent that we need to put in will essentially be a skin fitting with a 1.5-inch pipe or 38mm pipe that goes out of the box and then up to the roof, and there'll be a little cap on the top so rain can't get in, but it allows free flow of any excess gas that happens to be created in that box to escape out of that vent. While that's happening, we've had something arrive. Yes, we've been waiting for these for a while. Time to get these onto the boat now. While that's happening, Jess is working on some stainless clamps that bolt our temporary door onto the side of the saloon.
So I've just got to tidy up these so no one gets injured.
I was never the one to write up a song with just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in all conversations. Cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you keep on waiting. But then you came along.
These batteries and all of this electrical equipment is only possible because of the GoFundMe. There's no way that we could have, on the shoestring budget that Brupeg's built on, built a system that's going to be as capable as this. Now, each of these batteries are pretty remarkable in their own right, but we have 6 of these batteries, so Brupeg has an enormous battery bank. They all fit inside this custom box. This was a requirement that we had to build this box in order to meet the electrical standards in Australia and New Zealand. We're so incredibly grateful to be in the position to do this properly, and it's only because of the support you guys have given us. Thank you. Pretty exciting day. Look at all the stuff that has arrived. So this is the bulk of the Victron parts that we need. So inverter 1, inverter 2, and then a raft of ancillary bits that connect everything together. We have our batteries have also arrived, and luckily they fit inside the box that we made before we had the batteries. So a little bit more work to do on this. We've got to put a clear front on, and we also have to do the bolt down things that bolt the batteries down to the aluminium frame. So these little frames in here, but that's pretty easy to do, and that's to be done soon. We are coming to you from a new location. So this was the berth that we were in a few weeks back before we went way down the road over to the other one that we got kicked out of. But this is, basically the berth where we're not able to do a lot of work on. We have to do everything internally, not any sort of external welding. Today's job though is basically go through the list of parts. So put all of the Victron gear out on the table and then go through the parts list to make sure that we've got everything, so we're not missing anything. The Sparkies are here. In a few days time we're going to go through and do a layout. So Damon, the DC Sparky, he's going to be here to do a layout to figure out where we're going to screw everything down to on the boat. And then a couple of days after we've finished all of that, he's going to arrive and then connect everything, do all the terminations. D, the AC Sparky, he's organising his time to figure out when he can get up here. He's going to give me a hand to actually do the fit out of all of this stuff and then do the AC work, like the generator and connecting the inverters to the systems and so on, and then moving the distribution box from the wheelhouse around the corner to what used to be the old YouTube box.
We get the Victron stuff and the cat gets the boxes.
Yeah.
Fair is fair.
Fair is fair.
In the depths of silence, where echoes remain, you were the sunrise, and I was the rain. A collision of souls, opposing in flight.
So there's an extraordinary amount of stuff here. So our BMS, our links, distributors, these things in here. We've got independent switches for every battery. independent switches for each inverter. We've got 2 here, I can't remember what these ones are for, fuse holders, buzz bars. This is a relay, an over voltage protection relay for the alternator. This is something that's really cool I want to show you guys. It's a alternator regulator that allows you to do lithium directly off any alternator, but it has some blimmin' cool features in terms of like generation and stuff that's not normal, so it's something I really want to show you guys. We've got the DC-DC charge controller, which is going to charge from our what are you doing, nutcase? From our big lithium bank over there. It's going to charge from there via this here down to our lead acid start batteries, and this is going to be permanent temporary until we swap over to air start, but this is going to allow us to essentially keep the start batteries in perfect condition so we don't have to replace another battery. DC-DC charge controller, this is 24 to 12 volt. We've got 2 of these. This runs our navigation system. We actually only need about 30 amps in total to run everything, radar, everything, sound of the lot. But we have 2 of these so that if ever one dies, immediately we can switch over and the second one takes over. So we've got redundancy on our nav. 2 small charge controllers and then 3 big charge controllers that will run all of the solar. A heavy box, I'm not sure what's in there. I think it's a reused box. I think there's lots of connections and stuff, so I'm just going to pull that apart in a second and have a look. Links power in, links power in, links power in, so 3 of those. Yeah, so the job, and then quite a few sort of ancillary little bits, fuses and connection cables and things like that. Servo GX, that's the brains of all of this, so that in combination with the smart BMS pretty much runs everything that we're doing. What I need to do now is go through every single one of these. This is the parts list. I need to go through every single one of these and make sure that we've got it. It's sitting on the boat so that we can actually start installing it into the boat. With parts checked off, the next thing is stripping down all of these things into its component parts, because what we need to do is figure out where these are going to be bolted or screwed into the boat. So we're going to use the table as our workbench and do a bit of a layout, all while the cat is going crazy running around the boat because there's spare boxes. We've got things like this, which is our DIN mounted DC fuses. So we're going to have 2 of these banks. This is basically sand filled, I don't know what they're called, but they're sand filled fuses so that they can take quite a high amount of current, I think, before they blow. And when they do blow, they are fully self-contained because they're a sand filled fuse. These guys here are just regular DC breakers, so various sizes, 25 amp up to I think 63 amp from memory. Or 16 amp, sorry, up to 63 amp, and then we'll have a couple of 100 amp breakers up here for 300 amp breakers for some other things that we've got going on. So we've got that happening, and then we have exactly the same for our AC, so 2 strips of AC breakers. All right, so we've got these 3 Lynx power ins and 2 Lynx distributors over the back, and I kind of want to show you how these work. So when they're together, they've basically got covers over everything. They're all nice and self-contained, IP22 as you can see. Your cables go in and out of these big chunky areas here. But cool thing about them, take the lid off, they're basically a buzz bar. And if you take these connectors off, like so, and this little piece here normally sits down in the end there, if you get rid of that, you can take as many of these as you want, and you can start stacking them up and screwing them together like that. So they all end up taking up less space, but also looking way more tidier. So you can imagine quite a few of these guys all stacked together. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and you end up with a really beautiful way of arranging all of your cables. You can see the mechanics of how they join. They have these little silicon, this is basically like a flexible silicon rubbery type stuff, but the way that they've designed this is it literally clips in to the next one along, so it maintains that IP22 by retaining these clips, and then these here just basically bolt up just like any big terminal on a buzz bar. And there we go, that's it assembled. So here you have the Lynx distributor. So this is again IP22. It's essentially a set of buzz bars in here, but you've got circuitry in here to do a lot more of the monitoring side of things and looking at what's going on within your circuits. The power in, Lynx power in, is more just a basic buzz bar, just to organize your cabling. This is where you start getting some of the smarts coming into your cabling. That's connected. Put the lid on. Do it one-handed. It's way easier. There we go. And that's that one. Once that's screwed down, that's that complete.
Damon came on board and spent a day with Dame going through the system.
We're just going through the details, and we found out that we need to basically bolt all of these on one big long line. So that's changed how we're going to be able to mount things inside that battery box. I was hoping to install these as 2 separate rows, but that wasn't a possibility. So we've had to rejig a few things. So we've got our Lynx power in. These are basically just buzz bars, essentially fancy buzz bars. we've got our BMS. So this is the brains of the system. This is an incredibly smart piece of kit that does most of the workings of what we're doing. And then we've got our 2 links distributors down the end, and it has to be in this particular order according to Victron. So we've bolted it together, it has to stay on one big long line, and that means that we have to mount it on the forward wall of the battery room. I feel like we're in a position where we can pass on some of our expertise from lessons learned. One of the lessons that I've learnt through doing many things on this boat is easy is good, hard is bad. To fix stuff onto plywood, it's quite easy. To fix it onto steel, it's a pain in the ass. So we're going to be cladding 3 of the walls in this room with heavy plywood so that we can screw all of the various fittings down to that plywood rather than try and bolt them to the steel. We've got heaps of work that we need to get done on the boat this morning. And because of the marina berth that we're in, we can't do any like loud sort of sanding, grinding, any sort of that kind of work out on the back of the boat. So we're going to do the next obvious thing, going to take all of our work to somebody else's boat, do it on the back of their boat.
Thanks, Pat.
Might have flooded it.
Going off to work in the morning.
Starting up the public transport.
Damien has this thing where he floods it every time. It's really funny. He's determined to do it his way. It's really funny. One of those little quirky things, you know, the endearing things that annoy you after a while.
How do you know your dinghy's at maximum capacity?
New workshop for today. Thank you very much, Pat. James is setting up. We're doing some woodworking.
Brupeg's remote workshop. This plywood is the cladding that we're going to be putting into the battery room to screw all the various parts down to. The plywood that we're using is 22mm thick. It's a C-D grade board, which means one side is sanded to a D grade, one side is sanded to a C grade. D is worse than C, so it's a bit fluffy compared to the C grade. Doesn't matter for us, we're going to be gluing one side to the wall. So we've aligned the D side to go against the wall, and we're going to be using the C side sanded up to a smoother finish as the front face. This blue timber is just some studs that we're using to hold the ply off the wall. Right, Jess is now giving this a sand. So this plywood has a D face. You can see that it's sort of quite manky. There's a few, you know, scuffly bits. It's not really that pretty, doesn't matter. And then there's a C face, which is much better. You see the condition is nice and smooth. But we're going to go through and give it a real good clean up. She's got some 240 grit on the sander. We're just going to give it a buzz and give it smoothness. And then we're going to go around and route the edges so that we've got a nice curve to be lovely with. This face gets glued to the wall, so that's why it doesn't matter that it's a bit manky. What I need to do, these pieces of timber that Jess cut, they're 45mm by 75mm. I want the 45mm dimension. I need to screw them to the back of that piece of 600mm long plywood, 1.2 meters worth of ply. I'm going to screw them to the back like that so that I can mount the ply off the wall by 45mm, because we need that room for pipes and cables and things like that.
Baby, you and me
So Jess is going through and sanding the edges. This is one that's been done, and it's just absolutely beautiful along there. So by the time we put the epoxy, first coat down here of epoxy, and we seal this up, it's a high build epoxy, so quite thick, so we'll be able to basically sand this back and get it really absolutely beautiful. Jess has just been stirring for a while.
Quite the stirrer.
And the paint's just about ready. She's doing this over here. So this is the underside of it's the port cladding that we're going to be doing. So these here will be fitted against the wall. So we've got a 45mm gap to allow for pipes and cables. She's going to get that painted.
We're aiming to get them sealed tonight, so at least they're sealed. We've got a bit of rain in the next few days, so we just want to get the first coat on minimum today. I think we've got enough time today, though. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Just got to do it before dark.
Just
really.
press on.
Yeah.
And while that's happening over the back, I've got a sheet of aluminium here, just a bit of 3mm alloy plate. I need to cut out, we'll draw up first and then cut out a new breaker panel for our AC upgrade.
Whoop, whoop.
Agreed. Whoop, whoop. Why am I even making an AC breaker board? I thought we had to deal with the DC side of stuff going on at Brupeg. Take a look up here. Wheelhouse, cupboard, current breaker board. So if anything's going on over here, it's incredibly awkward. I'm going to spin around. Look, this is the weird position you have to kind of get in to look if anything's happening. If you're up the top, you kind of got to bend down. It just doesn't work. It's just a pain in the neck. So we're going to completely change it. We also don't have much room in there for breakers and screens and all that sort of jazz. So that's going to go back to a storage cupboard. Introducing the new AC cupboard. So we've got our cable holes up the top, we've got one down the bottom, we've also got a path that it goes into that battery box really easily. We've got some timber down this side here, and it's going to join over onto a lock over here. So that panel that I'm cutting out is going to fit in here. It's going to have vertical breakers, we're going to have our screens down the middle, it's going to look awesome, we're going to be able to lock it there. We're also going to have clear perspex going across here, so we can lock this area off so crystal clear that every time we walk past we can just glance it and see if everything is as it should be.
And he's confirmed it looks like he's here next Monday, so today is Thursday?
Yeah. So
a few days. So yeah, so we've got to get that ready for him to work on. They're very exciting times. It's the beginning of the 2 weeks of electricity.
Electrical poverty, where we're running the entire boat off one extension cord.
Oh, that's what's on your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, no hot water. Yes, it's true. Hopefully it won't be that long.
I was never the one to write up a song with just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in long conversations. Cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you keep on waiting. But then you came along and proved me all wrong. I was so mistaken. Cause you glue all the pieces back together.
Rain delayed play, so we had to move indoors. But the sun's back out. It's lovely and sunny now. It was just a bit of a rainstorm that sort of came, or a little wee shower that came through. Right, sprinkle. So this is what I need to cut. So wherever there's a black line, we need to have a line cut. Our breakers are going to be sitting in 4 rows. So we'll have AC on one side, DC on the other side. I have a hinge all the way down one side over there, and then locks on this side. So it'll act like a cupboard door essentially, but there'll be breakers in there. And we left a big space in the middle for anything that we don't know. So things like the Victron Servo GX screen, the auto start for the generator, or maybe even a brunette screen, or anything that we need to kind of, that isn't DIN rail mounted, that's like a screen or a gauge or something. That's what's going up in the middle there.
Yeah, I'm yours, and now we're singing.
There we go. So need to obviously clean up the edges and stuff, but 4 slots cut out. That allows our DIN breakers to sit AC and DC. That's one coat around everything. So you can see it's a fairly thick paint. Normally it soaks into the end grains quite a bit for your first coat, and it will soak in, but it hasn't soaked in much at this stage. It kind of just shows you how thick that paint is. Jess is just going around end grain on these studs just to give them as much protection as we can. We kind of nuke it with an epoxy to try and really seal everything up.
And it really like watertights it.
Yeah, it does.
It's amazing how little mold you get over time. And now we've been on the boat for quite a while. We can see where we've messed up and what worked and what didn't, and definitely thick's good.
The epoxy just seems to not allow anything to grow, compared to other paints.
Yeah, it's quite amazing.
Yeah. And the polyurethanes as well, they're pretty similar. With the day's work done, it's time to take the bus back home. Jess has just single-handedly lifted all of this into the boat.
We've just moved them under.
There's a little roof. Actually, I'll come back and you'll see it all better. Yeah, a little roof under there. We're thinking for dew. Don't think we're going to get rain, but who knows. Yeah.
So we'll be back in the morning to turn them over. Hopefully they'll be dry, and we can do the other side. Yeah. And then we'll get them back over to Brupeg.
We did find a second-hand life raft at a local auction centre. We paid $150 for this thing. Now, it is out of service, so we do need to get it serviced, but it's a good base to work from, and it's incredibly heavy when we tried to lift it onto the roof. It took 3 of us. So there you go, you're up to speed. We've got our AC wiring about to be sorted when D arrives in a couple of days, which is pretty darn cool because Brupeg is about 95% AC powered. We have very little DC on this boat. We've got our DC stuff, which is the solar generation from BougeRV, finally going to be integrated into a new lithium battery bank along with new Victron inverters, and we will eliminate all of the challenges that we've had by having to piece together a system based around those orange Oompa Loompa inverters. They've been good while they lasted, but man, those things are causing so many headaches. Finally, we're able to get rid of those. That's happening within the next couple of weeks. We just have to get all of the cladding in that battery room done. We have to start mounting a lot of the panels and everything, and then run the cabling, and then Damon comes in and starts connecting everything up and programming everything. Once that's done, we're able to start pushing Brupeg back out to sea and start finishing off our sea trials. And on top of all of that, this was Birk's last week.